Expectation. I hate.
Exactly. The new year is upon us, so we need to set our expectations for the new year and our goals and all the ins and outs.
Uh-huh. Expectations over resolutions.
Sorry, for today, I'm working with the Christmas funk.
Ah.
Not the uptown kind, but you know, the universe has decided it's your turn to deal with this, and because we're humans, we can contract illnesses and colds and flus and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay. This is uh this is another good lesson for when you set the expectations that life is going to go a certain way, then something comes along outside of you that is like, hey, now you're sick. Boom. Hey, enjoy that. Deal with that.
Yeah. So maybe it's the universe's way of saying, hey, you've been working really hard right now and you don't know how to take a break and relax. So guess what? We're gonna force you to.
We're gonna force you to take a break. Yeah. So good lesson for me. Hey man, take a break. Take care of yourself.
Right. And it's okay to take a break and to relax and to step away. And and it's outside of our expectations. We're talking about expectations. And um, Tom, as you and I know, we work with so many people whose problems resolve around missed expectations, right?
Yeah.
The expectations we have for ourselves, the expectations we have for our relationships, for our profession, for we have expectations for everything. And when things don't meet our expectations or what we've thought out in our head is supposed to happen, that's when we have conflict, right? So that's when it's like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Things aren't meeting my expectations. Well, you may not be doing anything wrong. You just may have misjudged on your expectations. You may have overshot the mark, undershot the mark. It's okay. Tom, you are a lot more high achieving than I am. I've given up those those high expectations on professionalism. It's blowing down in my career, but it's okay to shoot for 100% all the time. I mean, those are high driving people, but when
Right.
you don't meet expectations all the time, it's okay. It's okay to hit 90%.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to even hit 80% sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to even, screw the pooch on the whole thing, right? Maybe it's just like,
Yeah.
whoa, I just wasn't prepared, or man, I set my expectations way out of whack. But
Right.
a lot of things come down to not meeting expectations. So it's instead of just swallowing that, right? Take a look at, did I set my goal too high? Did I set my goal in the wrong direction? It's about
Right.
expectations.
Did something outside of me come, like getting sick, and that threw things out of whack? Something that you didn't even think of, or process, or figure out a solution to. It's just here, and now you've got to deal with it. But I think the people who are more successful are the ones who can manage those expectations appropriately. Whenever life gets in the way, whenever something outside of your control flips the script on you, to be able to be okay and say, well, I'm not going to perform at my absolute best, but I'm just going to do the best I can with what I have right now. And in the future, I know that I'm going to be in a better place. I know that I'm going to be on possibly tomorrow or next week or, what have you. There's going to be days where I fucking kill it, and there's going to be days where it's killing me.
Right. In interpersonal relationships, how many couples have we worked with where it's just a misperception of communicate or of expectations?
Right.
We have in our heads like what we think is supposed to happen, and we haven't really communicated that to our partner or our whoever that we're talking with. We haven't communicated what our expectations are, but when they don't meet expectations, we're all crusty. And then the other
Yeah.
person's like, "What the heck's going on here? What did I do?"
Yeah.
Well, it didn't, our plan didn't meet my expectations. Well, I didn't know your expectations. You didn't verbalize those to me. You thought them in
Right.
your head.
Yeah.
And just because they were in your head, you expected me to know them.
Yeah. The spouse, cleans the entire house and does all the food shopping and does the baseboards and does the dishes and all that and takes care of the kids and buttons everything up. But the husband had an expectation that they were going to call the AC guy to come and do the maintenance on the AC, but the
Right.
spouse never did that. And then they come home and all this other stuff is done, which is great, but he didn't verbalize or she didn't verbalize the expectation of calling the AC guy. And so now they're pissed and their
Right.
expectations were unmet. But what about being grateful for the other things that did
Right.
occur? And if
Right.
you really want that expectation to happen, if you really want that task to be performed, then you need to illustrate that with
Yeah.
your
I
partner.
thought you were gonna call the AC guy. Now the AC's broke and we're sweating.
Right.
Well, you didn't say anything about the AC guy. I thought that was what you were gonna take care of because you usually call for the maintenance. Well,
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna call because I have XYZ to do.
Right.
So we're in this whole thing just because we did not verbalize expectations.
Yeah. And it makes no sense, even though this does happen, to get angry with your partner, at 7 p.m. at night because they didn't take care of that expectation. There's nothing you can do about it right now.
Right.
So, why get angry at the person? It's not going to facilitate, oh, well, they got angry at me, so now I need to make sure that I make this a priority. Now your whole evening and relationship is kind of ruined temporarily. So.
Yeah. Dang expectations, Tom.
We have these expectations regarding our lives too, the trajectory of our lives and what we hope to accomplish, what we've envisioned. Maybe they came from when we were young, maybe it's
Mhm.
societal standards, maybe what is deemed normal or expected of us. And when we don't meet those expectations, we tend to beat ourselves up over it. And that is futile. It's absurd, just like being angry with your spouse at 7 p.m. when you can't do anything about that particular task. Like,
Mhm.
why get angry at yourself because you didn't meet those whatever life goals that you set?
Mhm.
Maybe in other ways you did overachieve. Maybe you are better than you thought you were going to be in a lot of different areas.
One of my favorite clinical stories talking about expectations. There was this fictional, maybe not fictional, client that was the oldest sibling in a single parent family and had was a caretaker for the kids. So they were, at a young age caretaking for the kids, and then they grew up and they became a nurse, which is just a huge caretaking position, right? And
Yeah.
then they met this kind of deadbeat guy that, and so they had to take care of this guy and, the bills and all this kind of other stuff. And then, realize their whole life they've been this caretaking and they hate it. They never wanted to be
Right.
a caretaker
Yeah.
for people and realize that this was just the expectation that was expected of them. And when they realized this through a therapeutic intervention, changed their whole life and became what it is they wanted to become, regardless of what they thought the expectations were of them. I love that story. I think about that a lot.
Right? Because how much does that ring true for a lot of you out there that you end up trying to meet all these expectations and you know that they may not actually be yours. It may be these voices that you heard growing up from family members or from the people that you were around, or maybe friends of your parents, and those voices kind of became your own voice. And then you set these expectations for yourself, and they're really not your own. It's the influence from everybody around you, and then you don't feel like you're going to be good enough unless you meet all these other expectations, and that's
Mhm.
not true.
Right? I mean, how many, we were good Gen Xers, and so we were raised by boomers who followed very traditional paths. And, we had to be successful, work hard, earn some money, have a family and some kids and a dog and a house and a picket fence. And, we had to do all these things and save retirement and,
Yeah.
do those things. And that's what's kind of our life path was. And that's what we thought. I mean, that's what we saw everybody doing. That's what we thought the expectation was. And so we worked very hard at doing those things.
Yeah.
And then we were miserable. That's like,
Right? Yeah.
this is not what I wanted.
Mhm.
And, good Gen Xers is being, what is it, down with the man kinds of people that
Right.
challenged authority. A lot of us, a lot of Gen X people, really reset their expectations,
Yeah.
in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Said, listen, I don't have to follow any kind of external plan that was planted on me. I'm going to live my life exactly how I want to.
Yeah. Well, I've had so many people who have come in who have gotten and met those expectations that family or friends or whatever had for them, you know.
Mhm.
Maybe it was to get married and then have kids, and maybe it was to get a degree and an education and to have a career and, you know, even to make lots of money. And they've met all those and they're not happy.
Mm-mm. It's
It
because
doesn't
it's like
matter.
what their life path, what their true life path was supposed to be, or what they wanted it to be. You
Right.
know, we weren't given choices, right? We were grew. I always go back to this generational stuff because I just find it so fascinating. But we were back to do this. Why? Because I said so. Oh,
Because I
okay.
said so,
Well, since you
yeah.
said so, of course, yeah. So, yeah, it's just those expectations. Take a look at those, and that's what a good therapist will do is help you challenge those expectations in your life.
Yeah. Because think about all the things you have done in your life. These are all things that have shaped you, influenced you, but they don't necessarily have to define you. And
Right.
it's interesting to see that people, when they get into their, you know, late 30s, 40s, even some 50s, then their personal power really like starts to come out. A lot of them try to repress it, but I want to facilitate that and allow it to come out. You
Hmm.
be your own person and you do the things that make you happy and make you feel good. You do the things that you really want. And if that is a change in career, relationship, location, all of that, you know, that midlife crisis type of thing, then you
Hmm.
know what? That's okay. Do that. Now, this next chapter of your life is titled Your Turn. You know,
Hmm. Right. Absolutely.
go
I
ahead and
saw,
take the reins.
yeah, this is kind of sad, scary, but I don't remember the numbers, but I saw this TikTok, of course. I shouldn't even have to say this. I saw this on TikTok, it's like I saw a thing anyway, where it was this guy in his mid 50s, and I was doing the math and I realized I had like 1,000 weekends left in my life on average.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So what am I doing? Like watering the grass. I'm like, I gotta go do something. I
Yeah. Uh-huh.
gotta, take advantage of the weekends left in my life, and
Yeah.
and really challenging what it is I want. How okay, this is what I've done up until now, and then, no regrets, not even one letter, but not,
Regrets.
no regrets. I mean, hey, regrets are a waste of time, right? It is what it
Yeah.
is. It's history. It's behind you. It's learn from it, but it's over. Um, Move forward. What is it that I want to do today moving forward? What are my passions? What are my goals? What do I want to accomplish with my life? Before I'm not on this planet anymore.
Right. I mean, how do you want to define yourself
Right.
now and moving forward? You know,
Hmm.
think about what type of person do you want to be? Take a look in the mirror at yourself. Like a friend just recently said, you know, if you want to discover what the problem is and the solution, take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's how do you want to define your
Yeah.
life? How do you want to define yourself? Doesn't matter what has happened in the past.
Right.
Yes, like I said, that has influenced you and helped you become the person you are today, good and not so good. But
Hmm.
how do you want to define you moving forward? What type of person do you want to be? Do you want to be caring, loving, compassionate, generous, or do you want to be, go balls to the wall at everything that I do, you know, or do you want to be an asshole? You know, like I
Hmm.
guess that's up to you, but just keep in mind that if you end up choosing the latter, then it'll be very lonely. If you always have to be right, then you end up in a hotel room, drinking, watching old movies by yourself.
Well, watching It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, but you were right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the expectations, we talked about that were put on us or that we learned as a younger person. Um, and we've met some of those expectations. Please, you can always take a look at that. And, we were always taught what's your legacy going to be? What are you going to leave as an imprint on this earth? And take a look at that. What is it? Maybe you did what you wanted to do, or maybe you didn't, or who knows. But what is that going forward? And do you have to leave a legacy? No one's going to remember you in 50 years, believe me. I'm sorry to say, outside
Yeah.
of, like, Elon Musk and some other people.
Right.
Unfortunately, outside of your family, maybe no one's going to remember you in 50 years. So, don't. What is this legacy stuff? What do you want to do? How do you want to, live your life?
Right. I can be proud of myself if I look back on the day and I achieved not all those tasks, that I are my expectations to do really well and be successful and to make lots of money and to help lots of people and all that. That's all wonderful. But I'm not necessarily going to meet all those expectations per day. But if I meet the expectations of being caring, being loving and kind, turning the other cheek at times, and even in the face of challenging people or adversity, to still be kind, at least bare minimum, then I can look back and reflect on the day and said, you know what? I met those expectations. I met the definition of myself, and
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. I can feel good about that.
Right. People have expectations that the more money I make, the more happiness I'll have. And from what Tom, you and I have seen over the years, is usually it's an inverse.
Yeah,
Usually, the more money people have, the more miserable they are.
yeah,
And there's that for a few reasons. First, the expectations that they thought money would bring them happiness, and it hasn't brought them happiness, number one. Number
yeah,
two is a lot of times to achieve very wealth and high success is because you've chosen that over other things in your life, friends,
right,
family, social interactions, hobbies, interests. You've to accumulate a lot of
yeah,
wealth, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. So at what cost? You've
right,
earned millions of dollars at what cost? What did you have to sacrifice along the way to get where you're at? And did those millions
right,
of dollars bring you happiness? And you and I
right.
know most of the time the answer is no.
Right. I mean, what's really important to you,
Mhm.
If today were your last day on Earth, or, this month or the rest of this year is the last time you have, think about the things you would want to do with your life. And those things are probably a sneak peek into the things that are valuable to you.
Mhm. For
And
sure.
focus on those things.
Mhm.
I mean, but don't live each day as if tomorrow doesn't exist and you go out and spend all of your money and resources and whatnot. But that kind of mentality is a healthy one to have, to focus on the things that are really important
Right.
to you, like maybe family, like maybe spouse, like focusing on being loving and kind no matter what. Those are the things that are valuable to me, and being of help and support and inspiring to others. Those are the
Mhm.
things that are important. And as long as I do something along those lines each day, then I can be happy looking back. Happiness isn't necessarily in the moment, it's when you look back on your life.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. It's the little things that you never paid attention to while they were happening. Those are what you look back and go, wow, that was a great time, of
Yeah,
my life, kind of thing. The other thing is, we're still in the holiday season. As the year is winding up, people have such expectations about what the holiday is supposed to be. It's supposed to be surrounded by family and friends, and it's going to be storybook, and we're going to hang out and have fun and sit in front of the fireplace and open presents and tell stories, and it just doesn't meet our expectations, and we wonder what is wrong with me. Why did the dog throw up on Christmas, and
right.
why did Aunt Marge spout her MAGA stuff for 3 hours and drive everybody insane?
Yeah.
Why did so there's a lot of expectations around the holidays, which is usually a letdown for a lot of people.
How many times, when you look back in the past, are the most memorable times and stories are when shit didn't go your way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think back in the past, like the stories that I love to tell and to share with others are all the things that were like shit just happened and I wasn't expecting that, and the day didn't go as planned, but it made for a magical, memorable, weird, or there was a lesson to be learned out of that experience. And those are the ones that I hold close and are memorable. When things went exactly perfect or how I had planned it, the day is not memorable,
Mhm.
interestingly enough.
and we talk about like the storms, like up north. You and I are from up north originally. We
Yeah.
remember the blizzards and the snowstorms and and those were as kids, those were fun times. The adults didn't always enjoy those things, but for us, it was a great time. And now we live down south in a hurricane area, and some of the hurricanes, I mean, we don't want them, and we, hope they never come, but some of our fun times have come around hurricanes. I mean, we
Yeah.
have great hurricane parties down here.
Yeah.
When you're expected to lose electricity, you're cooking everything in your freezer, right? So,
Right.
you
Yeah.
bring all your food out and into the neighborhood, and everyone's eating stuff, and it's funny when people make their lists for hurricanes in Florida. It's like, okay, do we have canned food, or do we have non-perishable food? Do we have gas for the generator? Do we have our medications that we need? Do we have
Right.
do we have enough alcohol?
Right.
So I mean, those are our lists, and we've had some of the best memories around hurricane parties.
Yeah. Spam for the grill.
Exactly. And then
Right.
it's like out in on normal circumstances, you would never, slice up some spam and put it on a charcoal grill. But you know what?
Yeah.
Them spam sandwiches were good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then jumping in a pool whose filter hasn't run for 3 days.
So it's okay if things don't go your way.
Mhm.
It's all right. Just make the best of it.
Right.
Do the best you can with what you have each day, depending upon how you're feeling. And if you feel crappy that day, then still just do the best that you can and try again for tomorrow.
Expectations.
Yeah.
They're helpful, and they can cause us a lot of stress and consternation for sure.
Yeah. Well, the extreme side of people feeling like they did not meet the expectations that they set forth in life is deep, dark depression, hopelessness, and helplessness. And when somebody is in that funk, which I have several of them, it's hard to help them out. It's hard to pull them out of that. That becomes the story. That becomes the narrative. And even if they have some solutions to make do in the day, or to make some positive changes, it's still not going to inevitably help them achieve all those things that they had expected for their lives. And
Mhm.
so they have a hard time finding the hope or the inspiration in those little steps forward. Because ultimately, well, it's not going to help me achieve what I really wanted to achieve. So why
Mhm.
even bother?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I have young people too who are in this place.
Mhm.
There's a young person the other day who not even of driving age yet who has given up on school because he says, well, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so sad.
Yeah.
But how do you motivate somebody like that to see it, from our perspective at, 40 and 50 or,
Mhm.
or something at 50 years old of like, like that it's how you practice right now that determines how you're going to perform tomorrow and later on in life.
And when people are really in those depths of depression, really in that significant depressive states, it's hard for them to even think clearly and to see a future and to set expectations. They're just miring down in the muck. And you know, our goal is to try to get them out of the muck one way or another, small steps. And that's a lot where medications can be helpful.
Yeah.
Medications in combination with therapy. So many people are against psychoactive medications, particularly with kids and adolescents. And
Yeah.
I get it. I understand that reasoning for
Yeah.
sure. But every kind of medication goes back to costs, benefit risk analysis. So
Yeah.
do the benefits outweigh the risks? And when that answer is yes, I mean, if the person is so significantly depressed that they cannot move forward in their life, they're probably not going to just shake out of it. That's not how significant depression works. It just doesn't
Right.
disappear one day.
Yeah.
It's got to take something, and medication can help on that journey. Now, medication does, some people have to take medication every day for the rest of their life. Some people don't. Some people it's a short-term crutch. 6 months or a year as they learn some different things and come off. But just remember with any psychoactive medication, unless it's prescribed PRN or as needed, you need to take it every day as prescribed,
Yeah.
particularly antidepressants, because they only work when you take them every day, and they build up in your body, and your body becomes used to having that medication in your body. And some different classes of medications, SSRIs, particularly, you can't just take them as needed. You have to take them consistently, and you can't just stop taking them.
Right.
They can have rebound effects if you just go cold turkey. You got to taper those off. So,
Sure. And people are on medications, and it's not a fix or a cure for what you
mhm,
got going on. It just kind of gets your head a little bit above water,
mhm.
but you still have to, do some stuff. You can't rely wholeheartedly on the medication because it's just not going to work like that.
Right. I use the analogy, and I talk a lot of analogies, but significant depression is like being in the basement of a house, right? You are just, it's dark, it's dank, it's smelly, you can't see a path forward, and you're not thinking straight, right? So sometimes antidepressant medications can get you out of the basement and onto the first floor. Well, the first floor of the house is the most dangerous, right? It is, you're starting to clear out, you're starting to think a little clearly, you're still depressed, but you're starting to think a little clearly. And now this is where some of those bad thoughts can come in. Like, man, life
Right.
would just be great if I wasn't here. I'm
Right.
so done with this.
Yeah.
And as long as you continue to take the medications and make steps forward, you can get to the second floor, the third floor, attic of the house, and that's
Yeah.
where joy and happiness can come from, is on those upper levels of the house. So
Yeah.
we got to get you first, got to get out of the basement, and you got to get to the first floor, so it's going to be not fun, and then we got to keep
Right.
going from there. So when somebody starts an antidepressant medication, friend, family, loved one, or whatever, a lot of people say, oh well, they started an antidepressant, so whew, it's over. No, it's really
No, no,
just
it's
the
not.
beginning. So stick
Yeah.
with that person for a while, because it's gonna probably get worse before it gets better.
It gets worse. It sometimes, most of the time, it gets worse before it can get better because
Yeah.
now they have the energy to carry through with
Mhm.
things that they were thinking. So not good things.
And how many times have we heard, I took antidepressants, it made it worse. It made me, I
Yeah.
wasn't suicidal until I started taking. Well,
Right.
I hate to tell you, but a pill doesn't make you suicidal.
Right.
It just doesn't. I
It's true.
mean,
Right.
there's black warnings, and people can come at me all they want. I don't care. I don't give a or
Right.
rat's ass, what people say. But um, it's because it's getting worse before it gets better. But it will continue, hopefully, most of the time, get better. You just
Yeah.
got to be consistent with that. So I
Uh-huh.
can't take medication. It doesn't work. It makes me worse. Well,
Yeah.
maybe, maybe not.
If you're expecting that it's going to fix the problem or cure it, then we need to change those expectations because it's just not going to happen. And you're going to be even more distraught because it didn't do what you were expecting it to do.
I took it for a week. It didn't do anything. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of these medications take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks to take full effect. So
Yeah.
or I had such bad side effects. I had dry mouth, and I was a little foggy, and whatever. Well, that's true, but it's benefit risk analysis, right? So a little bit of foggy and a little bit of dry mouth, for a couple of weeks, your body will adapt to it. Like the fog will clear, the dry mouth will resolve itself, or you take a tic tac every hour. What the heck?
Yeah.
So just stick with it.
You're not going to become a great guitar player by playing the guitar for a week straight and then putting it down again. I
Right.
mean, 10,000 plus hours to master something. I mean, like, think about, are you proud that you got those degrees that you got? Sure, because you spent time, money, resources, years, and classes to achieve that. It's not something that you achieved over the weekend because it wouldn't really mean anything if you just got it over the weekend, right? But because you spent, 6 to 8 years working on something, it's so much more valuable. So if you spent, 20 years perfecting playing the guitar, like you're going to be a master at that thing.
Right. It's
So
the same. I love the guitar analogy, and I love when you talk about, if you play the guitar an hour a week, like therapy hour a week, And it doesn't get better in I'm not great in a month. Well, therapy is what happens outside of that hour a week.
Yeah.
Therapy is just about learning some new skills, reinforcing how those skills are working, challenging some expectations. Therapy is not just an hour a week. It's what happens outside of that hour a
Right. And are you going to get better at the guitar if you think about it 8 hours a day for the next six
week.
weeks?
Right. Right.
This is for those people who are anxious. You know, we sit and perseverate and think about these
Mhm.
things over and over again, and we feel like we're doing something about it, but it has no impact on the outcome of whatever it is, and it doesn't change, how you're going to perform in the
Mhm.
face of whatever that challenge or adversity is. You're probably going to perform the exact same way if you had only thought about it for 5 minutes versus thinking about it for 8 hours a day for the next 5 months.
You mean Tom laying in bed and not sleeping and perseverating all night about how I was going to play the guitar is not going to make me a better guitarist?
Nope, definitely not. It's not going to make you better at dealing with whatever that thing is you're worried about having to deal with.
Expectations, Tom. What the heck?
Right. But, and I'm sure I've said this in some way or we've discussed that this very concept. But I'll reiterate it. Um, if you worry about something long enough and then that thing doesn't happen or you never have to deal with it, then you have successfully taught your brain that I need to think about that or whatever I'm worried about. I need to think about it a lot to prevent that thing from happening. And
Right.
that's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't work. We're not magical like that.
All right. And then once you get real good at that, well, once you practice that unhealthy skill over and over again, you could develop OCD responses.
Right.
See, if I only lock the door 7 times, then no one will ever break into my house.
Oh, it'll ever break in. Yeah, it
They
reinforces that.
don't, there's not a correlation.
Yeah. And really, anxiety and depression are very similar in ways. They
Mhm.
follow along parallel lines.
Mhm.
It's not like you have one or the other. You might lean more towards one way, but depression is in the past and anxiety is in the future. So a lot of the people that I serve, that we serve, they have both,
Right.
Maybe we can diagnose them with one or the other because they're more leaning towards that side, but they definitely have both.
Mhm. For sure. Absolutely. So expectations, they can be a great driving force for us. They can help us propel us forward. They are a roadmap for us about how we want to, what our expectations are. They help us organize things. They help us move forward. They help us plan. They can assist us, and they can be our biggest source of stress when things do not meet our expectations. It throws us out of whack, and we can get angry, we can get sad, we can get frustrated, we can get all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
challenge those expectations. What is it that I expect out of things, and why do I expect 100% on things? Life isn't 100%. So
Yeah.
look at those things in your life.
And I think it's healthy to become flexible. So if those expectations don't go accordingly and you don't meet those expectations, or life or the people around you don't meet the expectations you have for them, then be flexible and be okay with that. Don't let that bog you down and get in the way of you performing or doing the best that you can do or enjoying yourself in your life. They're, what are expectations? They're just this I don't know in the ether, just like thoughts. I mean, our thoughts can get the better of us, but they're just thoughts, just like chemicals and shit.
Mhm. For sure.
You have power over them. You have control over them.
Mhm.
You may not have control over outside events, but you definitely have control over your thoughts. And your life is, thanks to Marcus Aurelius, your thoughts are, your life is what your thoughts make them. Or
Absolutely.
whatever the quote, whatever that is.
You are what, yeah, yeah, you are what your thoughts, you are your thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
Perception is reality, right? Perception is reality.
So if you don't like your reality right now, if you don't like your thoughts, I mean, reality is really a mirror of your thoughts and perceptions right now in this moment. And if you don't like it, then change your thoughts. And there are some ways in which to do that.
Mhm.
And that's what a therapist, can help you to do, is to reframe, to focus on the more positive, to help you change your thoughts and your thought processes. And maybe that's through CBT, maybe that's through EMDR, or maybe even just, positive suggestions through hypnosis, or maybe some DBT type skills or distress tolerance, emotional regulation, things like that. These are the things that therapy can help you with.
And see, when you need those kind of interventions, you go to Tom. When you need interventions like, I'm going to poke you in your eye, and then we'll talk about that you didn't expect that. Let's talk about expectations. That's the kind of therapy I'll provide. I'll just poke you in your eye, and then we can talk about why that happened, and then
Boo! How about that? What do you think about that? You like apples? How do you like them apples?
How do you like them apples? That's fun.
So, thank you guys for listening to us and being here and listen to us, yammer on about this, that, and the other thing. Let us know, questions at therapyunzip.com, what you'd like us to share, talk about, any questions you have for us. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you guys. Of course, we're going to still do this and enjoy each other's company and talk about whatever the topic or flavor of the week is, but we want to interact with you. I think that's a big push for this coming year, is that we want to be a little bit more interactive in your lives, helping out as many people as we can through this medium and social media and the internet and the like. So we
So all
also
you
have
people pleasers out there, what you can do to help us out is send us your topics and your questions at
yeah,
therapyunzip.com.
yeah, we'll tackle it, man. Brett, thank you again for today.
Thank you, Tom. Always good to see you.
Same.
Have a darn diddly doodly weekend.
Woo-hoo! And have a great new year, because
Yeah.
we'll see you after, right? We'll see you.
Holy crap, I'll see you in 2025. What the hell?
Yeah, hot dog.
All right, man. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. All right. See ya.
All right.